So thank you for this final panel. We're bringing together ecosystem partners, people who help nurture and interconnect the ecosystem in this region. And let's introduce ourselves. First, we have our host of this evening, Stefan Nestor, obviously from Fintech Moldova.
Stefan Nestor, founder and coordinator of Fintech Moldova, organizer of Fintech Moldova Conference 2025, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, and 19.
Show off. It's not on.
Good evening again. Much better. I'm Ana Maria Georgescu, and I'm a board member of the Romanian Fintech Association, and I'm also representing European Digital Financial Association as board member as well, which is an association covering 18 countries and representing around 3,000 fintechs. And I'm also co-founder of a fintech. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Zurab Kotaria. I'm a co-founder of Identimat, Identity and KYC and Compliance Automation Service Provider, originally from Georgia, and expanding to Eastern Europe and going on in Western Europe. So we provide services to this region, and we know how this fintech needs the services and what is the environment around.
Hi, my name is Rostyslav Dyuk, and I am chairman of the board of Ukrainian Association of Fintech and Innovation Company, and I present Ukraine in this panel, and we are big friends of all these great people sitting with us today in the panel. So thank you, Stefan, for inviting us all these years to be partner of the conference.
Fantastic, thank you. And I'm David Pollack, co-organizer of UNCHAIN Festival, which attempts to interconnect the region and various players of the region. So thank you all. So frankly, the conversation is going to be mainly about the ecosystem in general and how we all work together, and mainly how we can see the ecosystem grow and how we can better nurture it, support it, and help players from the region develop and interconnect the region. That's basically it. So to start off, since we all here represent different parts of the region, I would ask you, start with Stefan again, to give your impression, your opinions, and your observations of the Moldovan ecosystem and how it's developed over the past years, and where it's going, strengths, weaknesses, everything.
So first of all, I want to congratulate everybody with the results of our recent elections. And this is also relevant to the fintech ecosystem, not just for our own political wishes, is that we will continue to integrate our financial sector and fintech sector to the European broader sector. So in the last years, we are seeing a clear direction towards fintech ecosystem that is aligned with the EU standards. We are implementing directives that are based on EU directives such as PSD2, and we are implementing things that are inspired by the broader European sector. Things were mentioned before in this conference, of course, such as our integration with the SEPA system, which should be online, I think, on the 6th of October, if I'm not mistaken. So everybody who has any types of needs of transfers in the EU system, Euro system, can do it now much easier, much cheaper, and they could extend their business and activities towards the EU much seamless, just because of the fact that now we are integrated in the system, which allows us to use a financial sector that is not local, but not even regional, but international.
Now you consider Moldova, in your opinion, and obviously we're in here, so a lot of you already know the answers to this. How do you see its relative in the region, and how do you see the future of the country as in developing over time? It's obviously changed dramatically over the past couple of years and will continue to change, it looks like.
I think we are in a better position than even a lot of European countries. Based on our size, we have the chance to learn from the mistakes that a lot of EU countries made, such as, for example, the implementation of open banking. I think that these things can be learned, can be implemented much easier here. And also we have the possibility to experiment and to make mistakes, because at this point, if you make a mistake in Moldova, nobody will say anything, so you're fine. We are in a privileged position in which the European Union is on our side from 100%, and based on this, we are able to, we're able to be the naughty kids of the space, to say it like this. Not just in the fintech sector, I think in general, in the IT sector in general, in the innovation sector in general. The only thing that is needed is not a technological thing, it's not a technological barrier. The only barrier in Moldova is probably the mindset, and in this sense we need to work together to get over some of the predispositions that we have, maybe because of our past. But other than that, I think that our fintech sector in the country in general is in a very good spot to highlight itself forward.
Okay. Just last quick question. I mean, you're obviously represent Moldova often in queries when people are trying to approach the market or expand, and obviously you're approached often in, okay, I want to go to Moldova, is there a market there, can we expand? How do you feel this is changing? Do you think Moldova is maturing to some degree? Or do you think it still is not fully respected as a country and still has a ways to go? What do you think?
Well, if it's not respected as a country, it's up to us to make ourselves respected. And the only thing that we need to show is that if somebody has a bad preconception about us, we need to show them that they are wrong. And I know that everybody here in the audience knows our financial past and the past of our financial sector. There are still some preconceptions from outside about the robustness of our financial sector and our political sector as well. But we need to stop confirming their fears. So what we need to do is to put our foot in the door, as you say, and not to consider ourselves as the poor brother of Europe or something like that. We need to bring our value to the front. We need to be proud of who we are, and we need to be proud of the things that we can offer. And there's, as I said, there are a lot of things that we can offer, not just because of our mindset, but also of our geographical positioning, of the fact that we speak multiple languages, of the fact that we understand the mindset of the East and the West at the same time. So all the preconditions are there. The only thing that we need to do is just to accept that we are capable of at least the same or even more than the others that we consider superior.
Fantastic. And even Moldova is a good advocate in you, so thank you. Anna, Romania is also part of the region. What is your assessment of the country Romania, and how does it sit within this group of countries? How do you feel about that?
So the fintech ecosystem in Romania, I think, is quite old. I would like to be old, but no, it's quite new. So we started a few years ago, and also the Romanian Fintech Association is a young association. We have around 20 plus something members. And okay, if we are comparing with France Association, for example, which has hundreds of members, or Belgium that has around 80 members. So there is certain differences between the European region when it comes to the development. And Romania is part of the Central Eastern trend, which is having early stage fintech, I would say. And what we have seen is also differences when it comes to access investments and raising money, which is also something that it's a little bit different in that part of the region. And if we are comparing with more developed region, like, okay, we have UK that is the leading baseline we have France, Germany, large stable markets. We have Nordics with a huge appetite for digitalization and incredible development when it comes to payment rails. The southern part of Europe, which is also developed. I think we are in the, like I say, in the early stage of development trends, and we constantly need to push ourselves and be part of the entire ecosystem. And even, for example, Romania is a small when it comes to fintech growth, but we are a very strong voice at European level by participating in working groups, in EDFA board. So I would say, yeah.
So you feel support from European Union for development? You feel that makes crucial or makes a big difference? The access to European Union, now it's part of Schengen as well, obviously Romania. Have you seen a mindset difference, also an approach of people towards Romania?
No, I think we have equal access to the European Union, but the voice that we need to use is an institutional voice, because going in front of the European Union and say, hello, I'm smart fintech, or and I have an opinion about PSD2 legislation will not be the way of working, but wearing an institutional hat, European association or local national association would bring some benefits in this regard, and doesn't matter if is Romania or is another country, because each country can have a strong voice inside the association.
Okay, but you still see it as a regional player, as part of the region as such, yeah. Rostyslav, we'll go to you. You're obviously unique here, since you come from a very significant country at this moment in time, unfortunately. And thank you very much for being here. We know the effort this man went through to get here, so bravo. Now, obviously, we're all interested to hear what you have to say, since Ukraine is maturing as in, how do I put that, acceptance throughout the region. We all see it as part of Europe now in general, and I'm very curious to see how things are going, where you see things going in the next couple of years, and what your hopes and dreams are, basically.
Okay, first of all, I think when we speak about the ecosystem, I will add that we speak about ecosystem 2.0, because when we start a couple of years ago, each of us, we was doing this from scratch. Each one in his own country, and what I observed last couple of years, we see this cross-border integration, so we see a lot of support, one association by another. We see some like pan-European, like ADFA unions that try to, help all fintechs in Europe, doesn't matter which country you are, to grow this fintech ecosystem, and I think this is great. We also see huge support of all our partnership association during the war started, and it was like very, kind and very, very thankful from our side. And back to Ukraine, so this is interesting how ecosystem grew during the war. So it's like 3+ years of war and how it's impacted the ecosystem. So this is very interesting. We can turn back and see some like lesson learned. So first of all, the role of fintechs grows dramatically because fintech builds a digital infrastructure, and this is important because it couldn't be hidden by the rockets. Second one, you can't live without black humor. It's something that keeps you alive during all this period of time. So we even have joke, if you are hit by rocket, you can not go to the work. If not, you should be. So this is like the reality we live in, and it's make you more creative. Because during the work, sometimes you are limited with some sources. You have some period of blackout, so you know that electricity will be only this 4 hours per day. Okay, you should be so effective to do everything in this 4 hours. So another thing, so it's like jokes, but realistic, we don't have VC money during this period because cost of risk are too expensive even for international financial institutions. And they come to Ukraine, they're speaking about some reconstruction, but the cost of money are not, you need to sell drugs. to cover the efficiency of this business model. So
That's an option.
maybe, but not for us. And this is make you more agile. So I think this is interesting experience that we get as ecosystem during this year. So we continue to do everything that we did before the war, even more, just because we don't know we will have enough opportunity to do it to the end of the year. It's like internal joke. But generally, the market are struggling. Mostly of a lot of people go out of the country. We lose 8 million people that go somewhere, and this is, hit your human capital potential and money potential, and in this you should be more creative.
Okay, but how does it affect the companies themselves? Can they operate the same speed? Is there a push towards internationalization? Are companies from Ukraine still trying to grow and go international? Or what's the mindset? What's going on? What do you see happening? Examples around you?
Three interesting trends that we observe. So first of all, when the war started, all subsectors go down. Some of them like 100%, mostly 80% for first half a year. And then they recover. Mostly now all of them are recovered and grows last 2 years. So this is interesting. And how they grow. So they understand that the market is shrinking due to the economy shrinking. They try to go outside. So go to other market strategy. It's interesting phenomenon during the war. Sometimes they can't leave the country. As our driver yesterday, so we stuck in the border because the driver could cross the border from Ukrainian side, and we were walking the Moldovan border like 800 meters in dark, and the Ukrainian border guards say, okay, be careful of wild pigs between two borders. They're crossing the road as they can't. So it's funny, yeah. But back to your question. So you should be more effective. How you can be more effective? Technology. So we see dramatic use of AI to reduce the slack of human capital. And it's split totally people in financial sector for two groups. First, we call them dinosaurs, especially they live in banks. They say, okay, I will not tell nothing about me and my work to ChatGPT because they will know everything. Otherwise, another group use everything that they can put to these AI tools and different MLM models to leverage their work. What happens? Some stupid people look smarter, and this is a problem when they understand where is the gap, because hallucination of ChatGPT exists, and sometimes they could, produce some stupid context. So this is a problem, I think, the challenge, but more efficiency, use more technology, cover this situational questions.
Okay,
that
it helps, of course, with the lack of talent or people leaving the country. But as in terms of companies trying to grow with some ambition to really go places, is there just a general negativity because of the war? Do you still see companies going places? Can we expect the Ukrainian companies to say, "Come on, let's grow, let's go to Moldova, let's go to Romania,"
It's tasty, yeah, they have the strength. Go to Romania. I was like 3 times last 1 year in Romania, much more than previous. So go in other markets, I think it's global trend, not only Ukrainian one, and I think this ecosystem connectivity that we have beyond us in Europe help a lot, because we not go like lonely to the conference, we bring the team of different fintechs. They collaborate with you, they understand. So part of the delegation we have, they're somewhere in the meeting. We'll see them in the cocktails in the evening, and they try to make as many connections they have. And the same for us. We understand, for example, and this is interesting war phenomenon, rebuild amount of money for Ukrainian infrastructure, it's abnormal. It's abnormal for Ukraine, even for Europe. And the question is, Ukraine can eat it for rebuild Ukraine. So we understand that we can't rebuild Ukraine after the war only in collaboration with other countries, only in collaboration with other representative ecosystems that can we do jointly. So that's why we try to be as much proactive abroad to invite everybody to Ukraine to help us rebuild Ukraine after the war. And I think this is, for you, it's interesting market opportunities that you don't expect before. And for us, this is like go to other markets. It's a chance to build something on top of existing business and find new opportunities. So I think this cross-border collaboration in Europe will have great potential for all Europe after the war.
Well, what I can at least say is that the mental connection that people in Western Europe and Eastern Europe have with Ukraine has increased dramatically. I mean, right now, if you consider the situation now versus 5 years ago, the feeling that we have of being connected, of being in the same boat together is astoundingly improved. And that's a beautiful thing, absolutely beautiful. And we have a wonderful example here of that from Identomat. You are a hero, by the way.
Thank you.
A local hero. No, seriously, you built a beautiful company out of nothing, and you expanded it throughout the region of the world. No, but it's impressive. So I'd like to hear more about that, seriously.
Yeah, coming from Georgia and rolling out some basic feature in 2020, just 2 weeks before pandemic, and we even could not imagine that pandemic will happen, and during pandemic there will be so huge demand for the remote services, and actually it helped us to expand and accelerate the digital services and automation, and starting it from Georgia and expanding to Ukraine, to Moldova, and actually during the war, by the way, we closed biggest deals in Ukraine because people are moving around and they need to get same services but with geographical distance. And also talking about the Moldova, I've been at this conference 2 years ago, and I can say that right now it's much bigger, much wider in terms of topics mentioned here, and also in terms of regulations and digitalization and automation of the processes. Today there were several presentations about how this process can be accelerated, and actually these are the same topics what people are talking about in Europe or developed countries, and I think, and as I see, the ecosystem is growing, and it is already on the same level as some other.
Yeah, but let's put it simply. You bucked the trend. You had a Corona, Ukraine war. I mean, that happened at the same time, and even though that was all going on, you went to Ukraine, you expanded to Ukraine, you expanded to Moldova, you went across. It's beautiful. It's actually quite inspirational when you think about it, and it shows that no matter what happens, if you have some ambition and some kindness and some effort and some brains, you can do things anywhere. Yeah. It's beautiful. So well done.
Thanks.
No, it's fantastic. So the ecosystems are beautiful. They're expanding, but there are some other general trends going on, like the EU expanding with regulations and integrating the region more, for better, for worse, but in many ways for better, harmonizing regulations. I'd like to pin the ball over to you, Anna. Obviously, your company is also open banking network, right? And you have to do with PSD2, and you see how the regulations are expanding across the market. I would like you to expand on that. And maybe also include Moldova in this, since Moldova is obviously also going towards the EU and integrating more with the rest of Europe. So, take it away.
So, when it comes to scaling and growing across the borders, there are some things that can be considered strengths, but there are also some challenges that can slow down the development. So legislation, on one hand, it's something that it helps and creates a baseline framework for the European region, and we have some nice piece of legislation. Open finance is not yet, sorry, but PSD2, PSD3, PCR, SEPA, instant payments, EUD wallet. So there are great piece of legislation that should harmonize the region, but in reality this is also a weakness, but because when it comes to actual implementation and adoption in each country, there are some differences when it comes to timeline or details. and that is causing burden for a company that wants to extend its the same area. So if it is an open banking company, yes, the license can be passported, and from regulatory perspective is an easy step to do if you want to go abroad. Just few emails that needs to be exchanged in order to passport the license. But in reality, even if it is one single standard, open banking, the way in which it was implemented locally has differences, and it's quite a burden for a company to actually integrate open services across Europe. And I used open banking as a service, as an example, because I'm very close to that piece of legislation. But there are also other elements that needs to be taken into consideration besides legislation, which are access to funding. So whenever you want to grow, you need investment, and going abroad might be difficult if you want to enter a market and access a funding instrument on that market. So still there are a lot of challenges in that space, and a piece of legislation that is currently ongoing and somehow is trying to answer to that need of companies that wants to go abroad, but they are facing burden even if there is a single market, but in reality there are differences that are hard to implement and to face. So that legislation is 28th regime, this is the name, is still under its early stages. Public consultation, first stage of public consultation was just ended in September. And it is called that in that way because there are 27 countries in the European Union at this moment. And 28 would be another umbrella legislation that will help companies that wants to go abroad and provide for them an easier path. Yeah.
So what you're saying is that, okay, there's been harmonization of legislation. There has been some work to integrate all the various countries of Europe, which are a lot, 27 already members, and that's why it's called 28th, right? But you're saying there's a lot more work to do, which is obvious. Because when companies go abroad, where do they think of going? United States. Why? Big country, one market, easy to do. You try to expand a product across Europe, you have a lot of barriers in front of you. So I can clearly understand what you're saying, where you're going with that. Yeah.
Just a small example, if you need to report to National Bank, for example, as a regulatory institution, when going in each country, each national bank might have its own little, actually not so little rules in order to actually report, maybe different structure or maybe different integration channels in order to upload those reports. So these are small details, but is a burden if you need to comply with.
Okay, but in a practical sense, we still have seen heroes like Saltash come up, and other open banking and other companies have expanded across the region, including Dentomat. So, in our experiences, this is for the whole panel, how do you feel the market is evolving in terms of interconnecting? What have you seen developed, and what can be improved? What can we do, let's say, over the next year or two to help improve the market, to help customers and clients and companies actually improve their products, improve market access, etc.? Maybe start off, Nestor.
So one of the things that was mentioned by Rostyslav, I think, is we need to focus a lot on cooperation. First of all, on the level of associations and private companies and other organizations before expect any kind of change from the top down. It seems that the changes from the top down are usually coming from necessity rather than the other way around. So I guess the example should come from the little guy first, and when it's a lot of that type of example from the bottom up, that's when the changes might actually kind of come from the top down in terms of smoothing out the barriers between countries or
Can you crystallize that further with the, like, examples and something more specific and that you have in mind?
I can tell you an example, very simple one between our FinTech Moldova and the collaboration with the Ukrainian FinTech Association. And I mention this pretty much every time that we and Rostyslav are in the same panel, but there is no other way, because one of the reasons that the first FinTech Moldova conference actually happened, it was because I went to Kiev to pursue MasterCard office in Kiev to become the sponsor of the first event. That's when I met Rostyslav. That's when I realized how developed the Ukrainian fintech market was in comparison to us, even in comparison to a lot of the European countries. And his openness in order to support me in terms of advice, in terms of showing up, and in terms of showing an example on how an association is run and how association is supposed to be, is one of the reasons why I continue doing these things until now. So it's not a very sophisticated type of collaboration in terms of documents or legislation, anything like that. It's a simple person-to-person thing, which is probably the start. But if we're talking about the companies, well, in this case, we need to, as I mentioned before, the companies from Moldova need to be able to provide value, first of all, on the European market, and also need to be more assertive towards finding funding for developing to the European market. And it should be easier now, because now if you go to an investor, you can promise them that you will activate on the whole European market. Even though I understand that there are still challenges, as Anna Maria said, it's still less challenges for us if we are integrated rather than for us if we are not integrated in the EU. So before, if you had to go to an investor, he would ask, why would they invest in you if you only operate in Moldova? Now, after all these things are smoothed out, you can promise them, or you can show them that your strategy and your vision is actually much broader than the borders of the country.
So here's basically, it's all personal relationships and the general idea of, okay, let's think about what we have to do, get the regulation in order, talk regulations, talk to each other, and try to get things connected. Now, but beyond that, personal relations are not just, hi, help you set up an event, which is a beautiful event, thank you very much. It's also, obviously, the personal connection which inspires a company to go to new markets, right? Like you, Zurab. I mean, you came here, why? Because you knew someone, and you came in, and you can connect some more, so that's a positive thing, right? So I'm just concluding from what you said that maybe a thing which should be accentuated more heavily is the personal connection throughout the region. So how do you achieve that, though? I mean, how would you do it? I mean, you can go by, say hi all the time, but the truth is, like I say, we all have associations and companies, but in the end, you know, I'm here because I know you personally, I know you're competent, I know you're a nice guy, and you know, we build a personal relationship.
It's
right?
by taking part, because if you are part of a bigger European family, in our case now, you are able to be part of much more broader even events or much more broader opportunities. There is no other way to create a personal connection if you are not able to take part. And if you are limited in any way, even if it's a regulatory ways to take part in the broader strategy or broader vision of the whole European Union, for example, then you are not able to be there in order to make the personal connection. Because until recently, all our personal connections were more towards the east, because this is the market that we knew. This is how Moldova was traditionally part of the post-Soviet space, and all our business was conducted in the post-Soviet space style. And all the types of personal connection were made in Russian, with the Russian ideals, and all the business, not all the business, but most of the business that was made internationally was directed towards the East, in terms of towards the post-Soviet style. Now, we need to change or to adapt the same mindset that we had for the post-Soviet style to the EU and to the European market. So we need to be able to participate in this part of the world as much as we were able to participate before our steps towards the EU in the other parts of the world. So I guess it's the same strategy, but it's just with a different mindset and with a different culture, which we are learning step by step from the West.
It's interesting what you say. It's personal, no matter what you do, it's going to be personal and interpersonal and who you know and how you treat each other and the bonds you build up. It's a beautiful way to look at it. But on the other side, you said you have a structured approach with the EU where they come in with committees and they come with regulations and they come with top-down approach, and somehow we have to marry them. How do we do that? I mean, we can talk about this for the next half an hour, obviously. But in practical sense, if we're going to sit here and say, make a commitment, how are you going to make the region better next year? What would we do? Like, what would be the tools we would use to do that?
So, in order to influence the region and macro policies and initiative, what we have is a soft power in our hands. But we need to be realistic and accept that this influence is happening in small steps. And it's like running in a marathon, not in a sprint. So we need to be marathon people when working in fintech, just running and running. And this is the feeling I have since I started. Just an example, the open banking legislation, on which we gave some feedback, and we have some live meetings with the representative in the European Commission and raised very clear points on the legislation. And those meetings happened 2 years ago. And there is the PSD3 legislation that took into account our comments, but PSD3 is not yet finalized and official. So the pace of change is quite slow, and we are talking only about changes on an active legislation, so not a revolution. And when we want to change the PSD2 legislation, the message we received was, we want an evolution, but not a revolution. So this is
So another way of saying, I don't want to do anything, I want to be difficult, and let's wait around.
Yeah, so
okay.
we cannot be in the revolution mindset when it comes to region development, in my opinion, but just be very persuasive.
So basically what you're saying is the personal approach also to the regulatory side, but also interpersonal is the main points, right?
Yeah, and also a success story that we applied because the road and the rhythm in the European level was quite slow. Only for the local market in Romania, we formed for open banking. I'm giving that example because
that's what you do every day. It's fine.
It's the example I'm close to. We form a working group together with National Bank of Romania, which was very supportive and open as a mindset. And together with the other open banking providers that were active on the Romanian market, not just Romanian TPPs, but also TPPs that came across other countries in Romania. We were 4 TPPs, not many, but still enough. We formed that working group, and we had meetings with the National Bank of Romania, with the Bank Association, through National Bank, of course. And we made a list, we identified some optimizations that can be done and not be such a burden for the banks, but still be good enough for the TPPs. And we found out some improvements that were pushed by National Bank of Romania, but it was a constructive approach. And somehow we managed to go further, even if those optimizations were not mandatory in the European legislation, let's say, but they were done for the Romanian market with the support of National Bank, and that was a great example, is Open Banking Open Initiative.
Fantastic. So public-private kind of cooperation and partnership based on personal relationships again.
It was working, and it was built by people, like you said.
Fantastic. So let's close this off with two topics, 2 things that we can think, let's say New Year's resolution until the next FinTech, 2 things that we can pursue that would improve the ecosystem. Let's start with you, Rusty.
Okay, so first of all, thank you, Stefan, for such kind words. It's very the same from our side, and thank you that collect all these amazing people today during the data and the last panel. A lot of people still here, so it means that this interesting conference, yes. So what we could change? I think we need to change a little bit mindset, so all of us start like fintech associations, yes. We was mostly focused in these fintech providers, and what we try to change, we start onboarding banks inside the fintech association, and then the magic happened because banks start do more easily collaboration with fintech inside the association versus they do it in the street, you know, because it's very hard to teach them speak the same language, but when they are in the same network, it's much easier. But general, what I observe in Europe, and this is a problem that we try to solve in Ukraine, and I think this is big European problem, it's how to attract crypto money to fintech industry, because crypto live like another world. Digital assets, all these Bitcoin and all these other assets and trading, they live in another world. So, but this is, they have very big risk aversion, and they are ready, so big risk appetite. So they could be potential investor for all these fintech initiatives that we have. For them, fintech is commodity, no risk versus crypto. And I think we need to think jointly how to do, in Trump style, make MiCA great again and let it work, because European Union have MiCA. It's a lot of discussion, it's work or not, but when we all jointly let it work, it's put an abnormal potential of investment inside the fintech. Because all this crypto money can go directly with fintech, you can take it correctly, you can manage it, you can pay some returns, etc., and everything will be in compliance. And for Ukraine is also window of opportunity, because we believe that like normal classical investors will never come to Ukraine during the war. But crazy crypto, yes. Some crazy VC, yes. And we think how we can do it. But I think this is like pan-European problem.
So you're talking about capital raising, basically. You want a capital raising is one of the main things. Attracting capital is something you think would be something you would have to approach.
Yeah, because
right?
capital leverage what you're doing. So as Anna mentioned, and we discussed it today in couloir, so you can do something. Well, but you are limited, yes, but if you have leverage of capital, you can do it quickly, bigger, etc., etc.
To add to that, I've seen over the past year some new companies coming out, Axiology out of Lithuania and some others that do tokenization of assets. They're basically using tokenized assets to accentuate the capital markets. They're doing obviously initially with bonds, but from there you go to real asset tokenization and you expand the capital, obviously, which is great. And the Raiffeisen, ING, Unicredit's 6 banks or whatever also just launched a stable coin amongst each other for interbank settlement, which is also very interesting, right? These are things that are cheaper and faster, exactly. It's very cool. So what you're saying is great, and I can see it happen. Even in Ukraine, why not? Honestly, what is the real risk? A little drone on a building once in a while, but the truth is the ground is still fertile. It still grows, sugar grows. A lot of things come out of Ukraine still, so why not?
We'll see.
Zurab, you're up.
Yeah, it's many things have been told already, but overall, I think still people are people everywhere. So we need to simplify the procedures, relations. It helps to have better connections and better interaction. And but in terms of investing, in terms of risks and so on, the simplification has some threats, increasing risk and so on. And actually, simplifying it, automation, it's a key for faster growth, because there is lots of routines that takes time on the one side and upset some investors or consumers and so on. And just automation and simplifying.
Simplification, automation, and better personal connection to make it happen faster within companies,
exactly.
Better adoption. Interesting.
Yeah.
Anna?
I think that my closing remarks
Yeah.
will go in the direction of innovation, because I talked a lot about legislation and how legislation is moving slowly, but when it, I mean, innovation is still needed. We must not forget that this is the real sparkle.
But what do you see as innovation? What do you mean innovation?
I mean, doing extraordinary things, new ideas, even if it's not very accessible or very easy to go through. And I think this is something that Moldova can achieve because the people from Moldova are a great asset when it comes to programmers, technical people, developers. I mean, they are, and actually the people that are warm but strong and brilliant. And I think this is a mindset that needs to be always as the first thought.
So you mean actual creation, a sandboxing of new ideas, pushing things and using Moldova as a spearhead in that, basically?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Stefan, no pressure.
So I'm not sure if it's a change, but I think I would say that just the National Bank, the government agency to continue the good work that they're already doing in order to achieve 100% of the purposes that they've put. I would like to see maybe a first fully digital bank in Moldova soon. I don't know if it should be local or international, but I think it should be here already. I would also think that the general mindset of the IT sector in general, not just the fintech, is to switch from outsourcing-based to product-based, and more products to come out of Moldova, and the whole sector to work not just for other companies that are building products outside, but to take more risks, to be more assertive in building products here and exporting them to other countries.
So you're basically saying, okay, we have all the elements here actually to be great, to make Mika great again, and to bring capital, and to beat people, everything. Why don't we just sandbox it here and grow from here instead of just being third-party providers for others? What do you think the limitations are for that? Capital, is just mindset, what is it?
All of the above. Mindset is number one. Capital, everybody says that capital is the number one problem, but
No one has enough money.
but I can say that as well, unrelated to fintech. I think it's starting with the mindset. I think it starts with drive. And again, it's not, these are things that cannot be quantifiable, but I think that they are necessary in order to actually tap into that capital that we say that we need. Because you can get the capital, but if you don't have the right vision for the capital, it's no point, it's just money burnt.
No, that's a good point. I would add to everything we said here that I personally have seen that amazing teams could be created not just within one country in the region. Because I've seen many practical examples of people having part of a solution to someone else's problem, having great teams which could have a great experienced executive from one country and another team from another country and clients in a third country. I can literally name examples right now where I can see this happening now. And I think that if we leverage this kind of capital-person connection, I mean, like, absolutely, well, why not? Start a company here, but also think of clients outside, collaboration, money, whatever. It's all there. I mean, there are people there who would love to do it, and a Polish company, a guy in a Polish company, think he cares one whit if he's working with a guy in Bulgaria with Austrian money? No, of course not. And it's clients from Slovakia, whatever. Not at all.
I just want to add to what Stefan mentioned, just quick thoughts. So when the war started, all Ukrainian companies want to go. It's okay. Nobody heard.
That's not a war, it's just a...
Yeah. So everybody tried to enter EU market because they think it's more money there. And some of them fit in all this tough regulation back to Ukraine and say, okay, we want to work in this market even during the war. So I think Moldova and Ukraine have unique window of opportunity to be the sandbox for EU digital finance, because we're moving to the legislation harmonization from one side. From other side, we don't have this tough regulation at the moment. So it means that it's perfect sandbox to test some products and technology, and it's enough capacity of programmers, if enough capacity of digital service in the government level that could be happen. So maybe we should focus jointly in this idea before we enter the European Union to play this role of sandbox for new products and new technology testing before they enter the EU market.
But to get that done, you're going to have a situation where a company could come in, talk to a regulator, know what they're going to do, and not have too many questions and not take 6 months. I mean, you would have to set that up, let's be honest. No pressure again. So, I just want to thank everyone for coming, but before everyone starts clapping, Stefan, seriously, amazing conference, well organized. I go to far too many a year, and this is one of my favorite. It's really well organized, it's beautiful, it's done well in detail. The people that come are of high quality, conversations are great, the food is amazing, thank you. No, but still take credit. But seriously, Stefan, it's your 7th edition? 7th. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, David.
No, sincerely. And to everyone else, thank you for coming. Give a big round of applause. And don't forget to come again next year. If you're not here, I'm going to call you up, going to hound you at home. Come, come, come. See you next year. Thank you.